morning. This is America's Mayor Live and live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which was the home of the Republican National Convention 2024, which may go down in history as one of the most positive and one of the best conventions ever for the Republicans, at least. And I would say maybe conventions in general. I have been to five Republican and two Democratic conventions live, and I've watched closely almost every convention, believe it or not, since 1956. Some closer than others because some were boring as hell. You know, renominating conventions are often boring as hell. The Democratic convention this time, I must say, does not appear like it's going to be boring. Or ain't gonna be no renominating convention. I don't think so. Joe still thinks so, I think. But we'll go for the latest on the decrepit old man in a little while. But let's talk about the Republican convention first. It achieved everything a convention can do. Now, it's not going to, change the minds of the most intrepid, the most convinced partisan on the other side. It may not even change the minds of, people who are strongly convinced and committed. But it is going to change the minds of anyone who has anything like an open mind if it satisfies some of the questions the person has. I would think they did a good job of humanizing my friend, which is very, very fair in light of the demonization of him, which has been beyond sanity. They have said and done things about him that are much worse, much more untrue, if not untrue, grotesquely exaggerated than any candidate or president in American history. The fact that he can overcome that is a tribute to his tremendous talent and dedication. Um, when people say, both sides have used horrible rhetoric, Republicans, have said some pretty tough and some pretty bad, and you might even describe them as horrible things about Democrats. But the comparison level, you got to be stupid to think it was the same. And plus, the Republicans are like saying it in with a very, very weak, cheap, very little volume or coverage microphone. Biden is insane. Biden is insane. They're saying it, with 90% of the media to the whole world. It's in all of Europe. They're all left wing freaks. And it's like a given that Trump is a maniac, which of course is going to, Hitler, we should put a bullseye on his back, says Joe Biden. And somebody shoots him. Imagine, just imagine if it was switched. Just imagine if Trump had said that about Biden and somebody had attempted to kill Biden. Smith had arrested him already. Charge him with attempted murder, probably. Probably try to find out where I was. Did I talk to him about it? I mean, these people are horrible, they're evil, and they're awful. Having said that, we got to unite America. And this convention had a minimum of how evil, awful, and terrible they are. Could have done a lot more right after that shooting, boy. You might have noted in President Trump's acceptance speech, nothing but praise for the Secret Service. Now, I don't agree with that. I'm wearing a Secret Service pin for a special reason. This is in honor of all the wonderful Secret Service agents who are being disgraced by the upper echelon of their agency, the way the FBI is doing to the wonderful FBI agents. Look, I was their Man of the Year, got a Lifetime Achievement Award from the FBI. I worked enormously closely with the Secret Service, both in the White House, in the Justice Department, and in the U.S. Attorney's Office. This was given to me by a Secret Service agent. I didn't ask for it. He gave it to me. He gave it to me because I know why he gave it to me. The men and women of the Secret Service are extraordinarily good people. They're not like the political piece of crap leading them. Where did they find her? Oh, they found her on Jill Biden's detail. And we got a rally tomorrow in Grand Rapids, Michigan, home of Gerald R. Ford. Correct, Ted? My Michigan man?
That's right.
With a beautiful Gerald R. Ford museum.
Been to that museum.
The first president that I worked for directly was Gerald R. Ford.
The second president.
And I met him at the dedication of the FBI building, and I shook his hand, and I was so excited. And he was much taller than I thought. You know, remember, he was a football player and an athlete, and they always made fun of him for stumbling. And I mean, imagine if we had a fair and equal Saturday Night Live, what they would have done to Biden over the last 3.5 years. I mean, Ford was probably the best athlete we ever had in the White House.
Go Blue.
What is that? What was that? Come on, come on. You got to share it with the rest of us. I know what it is now, having been here and listening to you.
Gerald Ford played for the University of Michigan Wolverines.
Ah,
Now, Ronald Reagan.
that's really important.
But Ronald Reagan, your favorite, one of your favorite presidents, maybe number one, right?
Right.
He played as an actor, he played the role of the Gipper.
The Gipper. He played the role of the Gipper
Notre Dame.
in Newt Rockney of Notre Dame. Pat O'Brien played Newt Rockney. And Newt Rockney was one of the great legendary Hall of Fame football players for Notre Dame as Notre Dame began its domination of college football. In the 30s and the 40s, believe it or not, it was Notre Dame, Michigan, the two academies.
Yeah.
The two academies were national title teams. One of the great games in football was more than one was played at Yankee Stadium between Notre Dame and was it an undefeated Army team? You know what the score was? Of course, a tie. Wow. That's when the Army, I guess could go out and recruit whoever they wanted. And you had to be like over 6 feet or whatever to be in the Army. There was a time you had to be 6 feet or over to be in the police department. And you see some of that with the Secret Service problem, where when they took the beginning of my discomfort, tremendous anger with the people who handled the Secret Service situation, was when they brought the president's body up and they showed his face. I know he did it himself later, and they should have prevented that actually. But I don't exactly hold them as responsible for that. That's hard to do. That's hard to do. And it's a real trade-off because the country needed that. But the first part they didn't need, and a sniper sure as hell did. And I want you, when you look at it again, I want you to look at that, and you'll see they gave a sniper 2 to 3 to 4 seconds to get a hell of a good shot. You're supposed to do, I know they're trained to do just the opposite. When that body came up, when Trump came up, you shouldn't have been able to see him. And by the way, they shouldn't have paused him there. He said he didn't have any shoes on because they were knocked off when he got knocked down. Well, they should have held the shoes for him and just walked him out. No delay, like they did with Ronald Reagan years before. I arrested Hinckley and reviewed must have looked at that tape doing the after action report maybe 100 times. And I noted the mistakes they made there compared to this one. It was almost flawless. This would almost lead you to the conclusion that they were trying to assist the guy and kill him. I'm not saying they did. I'm just telling you, this is disgraceful. And I attribute it to the lack of standards and the destruction of standards in this political whatever who's head of the FBI that comes out of the Biden family and runs it politically. to let the Secret Service. We know about the FBI, how they've polluted it and made it into a the Biden secret police. But this is the Biden crooked operation too. It was Secret Service agents that went to the gun dealer who sold the gun to Hunter Biden. That turns out to be illegal because Hunter Biden is a degenerate drug addict for years, and tried to get the records. The gun dealer told him to go to hell. Tough gun dealer. He said, I know what you want to do. He said, I'll give it to ATF. Probably wouldn't have been a case if they got a chance to destroy those documents, like Hillary got a chance to destroy 33,000 emails. And it looks like the J6 committee has destroyed all of its records. And it looks like maybe the her tape video is gone of him acting like a baboon during the questioning of him over 6 hours, and probably much worse than Mr. Herr disingenuously concluded that he was just a poor old man with a memory, losing memory. No, no, he's not. He's an extraordinary sick man with almost no judgment left, almost no brain left, and never had a soul or a conscience ever. Um, so, do we have the president's speech? I do want to reemphasize, although I did on the earlier show. The president's speech was exceptional. It was a call to unity. It avoided, as I said, any criticism of the Secret Service. He was extraordinarily generous for the positive things that they did, and there were positive things. And the agents, although improperly trained, they look almost like the Keystone cops leading him out. That the face never should have been shown. When the movement to the vehicle took place, should have been like this, and it should have been like a procession where you couldn't find him. These tall people should have been around him. Instead, they had these short people around him who, one of them couldn't put the gun in a holster. Another one was flapping around like some kind of a bird, showing tremendous confusion, showing chaos, showing fright and fear. Boy, that's very, very discouraging to a possible second sniper if there is one, and it's awfully discouraging to the American people. And getting him into the car, they seem to be struggling with themselves, not him. It didn't seem like he was uncooperative at all. The only thing he did was he put his hand up at one time, said, fight, fight, fight. When he was exposed walking to the car, it was inadvertently by them. And then he made a brief attempt to repeat the gesture that he had made earlier, which in that particular case, they cut short. But when they review this is exactly how not to do it. When you prepare him, when he's on the ground, you prepare him for getting up so that he is enveloped in a sea of people so that he can't be shot again. And you move like rapid fire to that car, and you get him in that car, and you get him the hell out of there as fast as possible, which is what cops should do at every crime scene, by the way. You could say that the George Forster situation was a situation that never might have happened if they had gotten him off the street. I know policing. I know good policing. I know good policing because I had the honor of being the commander in chief of the best police department in the world that does the best executive protection in the world. We protect a hell of a lot more people in the Secret Service. We protect every world leader that comes to the UN and every one of their ambassadors, and about half of them are, well, the UN is, the nations of the world are hardly a majority, decent republics, democracies, or places that respect honesty, integrity. That's why, unfortunately, we're kind of moving in their direction as opposed to getting them to move in our direction. We're prosecuting now political opponents in America like they do in all those creepy countries. And then remember when you remember if when they start the Trump is going to destroy democracy thing, which may have very well incited this guy, may have not. Uh, Trump was president for 4 years. He didn't do a damn thing to democracy, but make it better. The guy who's destroyed democracy is the nitwit and the halfwit vice president in that administration and their attorney general. I mean, Trump could have done what Biden did. He could have prosecuted Hillary. He didn't. He thought it would be disruptive of the country. He wanted to truly unite the country. Biden immediately began pursuing him and telling the Justice Department in advance that Trump was guilty. And appointing an attorney general who turns out to be a hitman rather than an attorney general who selected a guy who has a terrible record, Smith, to do what he had done before, frame somebody. So when the president talked about unity, he's got a record of having tried to unite this country before. And it could be that he'll do it again. Do we have any of his? We have. Okay. Well, his words of unity were very, very strong. So you're going to say, I'm sure, and you have a right to say it. You have a right to say it, which is, oh my goodness, how can we believe unity? Unity. Biden talked about unity, and uh, nobody's really talked about unity or patriotism since Ronald Reagan. You could hardly think that Obama did. Obama, before he ran, talked about there's one America, there's not black and white America. He changed immediately and became a racist president as soon as possible. Probably divided this country, more than any other president until Biden telling us we're systemically racist, which would mean we're systemically evil. But you're not going to unite this country unless you do what Donald Trump did last night, which is to set that as a goal. He's very aware also that if he sets a goal, unlike the Democrats who they cover up for, they're gonna hold him. They're gonna hold him to that. Meaning they're gonna measure what he does and what he says, and by that very very high standard, which I like. That's a good thing. Our resolve is unbroken and our purpose is unchanged. This is Trump last night. To deliver a government that serves the American people better than ever before. I mean, these are words for the ages. Sounds like the words of our framers, our founding fathers. Sounds like the words of my hero. He was very specific in what he promised to do. He's going to do a new Iron Dome. Remember, we only have an Iron Dome, and Israel only has an Iron Dome, which is reflected in a letter that I got from Bibi Netanyahu to Mrs. Reagan because of the courage of Ronald Reagan. The biggest opponent of it was the dodo in the White House when he was a dodo in the Senate. He was the biggest opponent of nuclear defense, which they, in a derogatory way, described as Star Wars. As Bibi Netanyahu noted about 7 or 8 years ago in a letter to Mrs. Reagan, many, many Israelis would be dead if her husband didn't have the courage and the foresight to fight for nuclear defense. Well, Donald Trump, who started to rebuild it, wants to do a much larger version, a modern version of it that protects the United States against attack. You say it can't be done. Well, it sure as hell can't be done if you don't try to do it. I say it's a lot better to try than not. And I'm going to bet on our ingenuity beating theirs, because that's what it's about, right? The way Iron Dome works and the way I used to explain it to traitorous Democrats back in the 80s, and there they were just being stupid. The ones now are traitorous. I would say, look, Biden would never understand this because he's too stupid before he was demented. If a missile can shoot down an airplane, right? There's the airplane, there's the missile. A missile can shoot down another missile if it's faster, smarter, technologically more advanced. Are we smarter than they are? Are we more dedicated than they are? Did we invent most of this crap that they stole from us because of their spying? Yeah. They shouldn't have any of it. China, in particular, not an innovative country, hardworking country, can be industrious at times, maybe not sometimes because of the communist system. Creative? Hardly. They steal because the communist system prevents them from really being creative because they're not allowed any individual thinking. Individual thinking is they're brainwashed against individual thinking from the day they're born. We start moving into other levels of technology, and we shore up the holes that we have because we've allowed tremendous Chinese infiltration. We'll go way ahead of them. Problem is, we got a hell of a lot more Chinese spies in this country ever before. Biden has been letting them in freely for 4 years. He even shortened the time for them getting in a year ago. They're down to only 4 questions when they come in illegally. I mean, you got any question that that's a quid pro quo for the 31 million that his family got from China? I mean, unfortunately for Justice, he's going to be too insane to try, I think. But this guy belongs in jail for treason, not in the White House. Or, I mean, the president made the point last night, gently but firmly, that we gave back the Bagram Air Base, 400 miles from China. No, we didn't give it back. The man who got $31 million from China gave it back. 400 miles from China? And that wasn't a fix? What was it? Just an insane act? Like maybe. Well, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. And if I put my name on something, I truly believe in it. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to something I'm incredibly proud of. My own brand of organic specialty coffee, Rudy Coffee. Believe me when I say it's the best coffee you'll ever try. It's smooth, rich, chocolatey, and gentle on your stomach. It's so good, I even recommend drinking it black. It comes in 3 varieties, including what I promise is the best decaf you'll ever have. You can order now by scanning the QR code on your screen or by visiting rudy.coffee. By supporting Rudy Coffee, you're not just treating yourself to exceptional coffee, you're also supporting our cause, the cause of truth, justice, and American democracy. You'll also be supporting the Call to Action nonprofit, which is devoted to helping veterans and first responders, so you can make a difference and taste the difference by ordering today at rudy.coffee. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a... Welcome back. Now get some of that coffee. It's really good. It's really good. I met a few people at the convention who are getting it who really, really liked it. Some of them have actually gone on to a monthly or 2-month plan, depending on how much they drink. So I love it. Want to share it with you. Very healthy, much healthier than a lot of the coffee that you buy on the shelf. Much, much healthier. So, and tastier, for sure. So let's listen to some of the. Okay, one more minute. We're going to listen to some of the speeches at the convention and some of my experiences at the convention that Ted and Stephen recorded for me. Can we? How about now's the?
Can we play this clip of you and Marco Rubio that I captured, Senator Marco Rubio?
Yeah, you
and
should
maybe
know
you
that.
can give the backstory on it while we get the other
Well,
clip ready.
the backstory is that I met Marco Rubio a few months before he decided to run for the Senate. A mutual friend put us together. I was really impressed with him, and at the time, very close to Governor Bush in Florida, who was encouraging him to run. And when he decided to run, Governor Bush endorsed him immediately, and it was arranged that I would endorse him within a week or two. And then I worked very, very hard to get him elected. He was an underdog in the primary. He was an underdog in the general, and he won a great victory. And since then, of course, he's been a great senator. And one of the people that I was enthusiastic about being vice president, without taking anything away from the choice that was made, or the fact that I also wanted Ben Carson. So let's play this clip because well, because it's fun.
Is that the mayor was early in endorsing you back in 2010.
Let me guys tell you something.
Quick story.
The mayor didn't just endorse me. He called me a week after the election and wanted to go after Charlie Crist again. We don't got to keep hitting him.
God bless.
Charlie Crist was one of the most dishonest people I ever met in politics until I found out about Biden. So I helped. I helped Marco throughout his campaign, and for that reason, and for many others. But I also helped Senator Scott in his race against Charlie Crist. And Senator Scott, I think we'll get him on sometime, will credit me with winning the election for him with the best clip and negative ad they were able to do about the scoundrel Charlie Crist, who went from Republican to Democrat. And I mean, I can tell you the whole story of Charlie Crist sometime, but that was kind of cute. So there were really two. I divide the speech into two parts, both of it very, very important. Well, three parts. First of all, the very moving explanation of what happened to him. And also, for historical reasons, it's very fortunate that we get it within less than a week of the time that it happened. So quite a historical. That'll be quite a historical document. I mean, thank God. I mean, we have. It's hard to say. Do we have we had a lot of attempts on the presidents that have been that serious and actual assassination, or have we not had a lot? I don't know how to look at it. They do seem to be spread apart quite a bit, and then doggone, they seem to happen. You know, we had Kennedy in '63. And then we go into the latter part of the 60s, and we have Martin Luther King and his brother. We have two attempts on Ford in the 70s. We have Reagan, a serious attempt on Reagan in the 80s. And then we have peace for a long time until this one. But of course, the rhetoric against this particular man has been I don't know if, whatever side you're on, if you can deny the fact that the rhetoric against this man has been the most exaggerated and the most vicious. I mean, I remember the rhetoric against my hero, Ronald Reagan, and really resenting it. I resented the rhetoric against me. But the rhetoric against this man. So the first part of the speech, he outlined what happened almost in a straightforward narrative, and gave us some indication of how it was life changing because it was life saving. And as a person who's gone through a similar process, I can tell you it is. It does change you, and it does make you more serious, more relevant, meaning not being as concerned about things that aren't as important. You know, there's often said there are all these things we're worried about. It's terrible. Well, we're worried about we can be on time for this, be on time for that. Did we insult this? Did they insult us? You're angry at somebody, and then you get a call that the person you love the most has died, and it all goes away. None of those things seem important again, and all you're interested in is comforting your loved ones or dealing with your own sorrow. It's nothing like death or experiencing a very serious brush with death to make you relevant. To make you relevant. Thank you. So that was number one. Number two, not quite in this order because they interspersed them, but I'll just make it number two. He was quite modest. I mean, quite toned down in his criticism of the worst president in American history. He did say that, and he did point out some of the horrible things he did, like giving Bagram back, having the people killed in Afghanistan. The families, of course, were there earlier in the convention and made that point powerfully that Biden killed their children, and then was totally disrespectful to them, as he has been just the opposite when these things happen, totally respectful. But then he went on. He went on to tell us substantively what he's going to do. I really don't know how he could have been any more specific. I haven't looked at the reviews of the speech, but it's almost de rigueur for the New York Times. He's not specific enough. I mean, he can say just exactly how many missiles he's going to build, but it's not specific enough because it doesn't tell you what they weigh. So he did say he's going to end the war between Ukraine and Russia, that he's going to end inflation. I mean, we know he's going to end inflation because when he left office, it was less than 2%. He had the lowest inflation throughout the 4 years of the presidency that any president's ever had. I think maybe he knows how to end inflation. He's going to end the international crises. I think you can believe that he did because he left Biden with a safe world. No wars. Biden has given him the world in worse condition than it's ever been since the Second World War, with two major wars going on, smaller wars going on, and the two major ones threaten a world war. He's going to end illegal immigration. Well, we know he is because let's just use a number. When he was in office, the number of illegals coming in the last year was in the 400,000s. Last year, Biden was at 3.5 million. You think maybe he can do that? He had the Remain in Mexico policy, which is a real breakthrough. Biden changed it. He reversed the catch and release and made it catch and detain. He's going to end illegal immigration. But he's telling you what he's promising. He's going to restore respect for America. We know that. We know that Putin would never have invaded while he was president. He made the point that Putin didn't invade while he was president. Invaded under the two presidents before him and the one after. That's pretty good proof. Damn good proof. He's going to unleash a golden age and a new Iron Dome and great success and bring back the American dream. With great humility, I'm asking you to be excited about the future of our country. Like he lifted our eyes up. They're down right now. They're down like this. Lifted them up. That's just exactly what a country needs. That's exactly what a leader should do. That's putting substance around that masterful, unbelievable picture of him coming up from death. It's like he emerged from death, defiant, fight for the America that was given to us, not the one that's been taken away from us. Fight for an America that we want to give to our children, like the one we used to have, where Republicans or Trump people aren't prosecuted because they're Trump people. And Democrats are allowed to commit treason and get away with it. He didn't even say that. He doesn't have, that creates division. But we all know that there's a dual system of justice. There's the symbol. That symbol's going to be there for forever. That's going to be part of America. And the symbol's going to be particularly there when he gets elected and when he becomes successful. And he leads America back again to being the greatest country on earth, the most respected country on earth, the most powerful country on earth, a country that when it says don't go into the Gulf, and it puts a couple of aircraft carriers there, people quake in their boots. Not a country that the Houthis attack and we attack empty fields. Not a country that sucks the backside of the Ayatollah, who's a terrorist, and is afraid of Russia and China. So let's listen to some of his words of unity. It did have the explanation of how he was almost killed. It did have a great deal of substantive, this is what I'm going to do for you. But what it had that no other speech in recent memory has had is an exceptionally emotional, powerful, and well sketched out appeal to unity. And you're going to say it might not work, but I'm going to say to you, if you don't try it, it never works. And that other side can't possibly try it with the way they torture and persecute their opponents and with the corruption that they've allowed to enter into our government, corruption of the worst kind. So let's listen to our leader.
Delegates and fellow citizens, I stand before you this evening with a message of confidence, strength, and hope. 4 months from now, we will have an incredible victory, and we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. Together, we will launch a new era of safety, prosperity, and freedom for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. The discord and division in our society must be healed. We must heal it quickly. As Americans, we are bound together by a single fate and a shared destiny. We rise together or we fall apart. I am running to be president for all of America, not half of America, because there is no victory in winning for half of America. So tonight, with faith and devotion, I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States. Thank you.
Now, that was a wonderful prelude as a way of surrounding the necessary, legally necessary acceptance of the nomination. And it was all built around unity. It's true, there was some attack, mentioned Biden only once, zero name calling, zero. He didn't call anybody Hitler. Say put a target on anybody's back. He did point out straightforward way the exceptional, incredible failures of this administration. He didn't draw the conclusion. The failures have to almost lead you to a conclusion of treason. Because given back Bagram Air Base alone, 400 miles from China, you either have to be completely insane or you have to be a traitor. Someday, God forbid, an American president, maybe Trump, is going to curse Biden for taking that air base away if China attacks us. We're 400 miles from them. What did he say, 1 hour? When he says 1 hour, he means 1 hour to a target. You know how hard it is to defend if it's missiles up there for only 1 hour? I know they have very, very super duper missiles, but they got to travel a ways. Except maybe the other thing he brought to our attention that the traitorous press in America avoids, and that is the presence of missiles in Cuba. John Kennedy's got to be turning over in his grave that a Democrat is allowed. Well, I can't imagine he really would have any respect for the guy who was close to last in his law school class and cheated like hell to get through law school and treated like hell as a senator and been involved with his brothers and son for 35 years as first a trailer trash crook and now big time world class crook. Well, the other speeches were equally inspiring. Some of them, not all. I was particularly impressed with the speech of Pastor Lorenzo Sewell. And he is the pastor who invited President Trump to Detroit. Was that about a couple of weeks ago, Ted? Ted would know this. He knows everything about Detroit and Michigan, including the fact that tomorrow at 5, the president's going to do a rally at Grand Rapids with his new running mate, J.D. Vance.
That's just a ferry boat away from
the
us.
Secret Service better bring in the first string for this one, and not the rookie league. Huh? That was the rookie league that was taking care of him last time. Those were people that can't walk on an irregular roof. The killer could, but the Secret Service can't. They can't holster their gun. They can't maintain their emotions not to run around like chickens without a head. And they expose his face way too often. Now, there are people who are trying to make of it that this is a plot or this or that, or I'm not going there. Not yet. I might. I mean, I don't close it off. This is an entirely politicized administration. It's an entirely politicized Secret Service. I mean, she comes right out of, she was Jill Biden's Secret Service agent. That'd be like good training in the Biden family tradition, huh? It was the Secret Service that went to the agent, went to the guy selling guns to Hunter and tried to fix the case and get the records. And the guy said, "Screw you, you don't belong here." It was the Secret Service, I believe, I've got to go back and check this, that got all nervous when Hunter used a credit card of his father's to pay off a prostitute, like about 40 grand. And they found out about it, did some communication within their circles from Delaware or wherever the hell. He probably on a beach in Rehoboth, the bum father. And they, they were banging on his door within seconds to get that credit card to cover things up for our extraordinarily crooked vice president. They had to know what a massive crook he was and what a drug addict his son was, unless they weren't agents at all. I mean, his son used to go all around the world with him at a period of time in which he was a degenerate drug addict. Can't be that intelligent agents don't realize it. Of course, it's a Secret Service that also couldn't figure out with a small pool of people who put the drugs in the White House safe and who lied. They know who lied about it too. Secret Service covered up that investigation. I mean, I offered to do it for them. I began as a narcotics prosecutor. I used to have to try to figure out who brought the drugs into a city of 8 million. They had to figure out who brought the drugs into a White House of, a couple of people with a couple of key suspects. Like, you always go to the person with the biggest motive. Who was the biggest drug addict in the White House at the time that the drugs were found in the little cubbyhole? Was there a particular person in the White House who had a long history of being such a degenerate drug addict they couldn't pass a military test and stay clean for a month, not to embarrass his father? Gee, we never got a report on his whereabouts, did we? You think maybe those were Hunter's drugs? Well, we'll never know because the Secret Service covered it up. I love the Secret Service agent. See, the pin, they gave it to me yesterday. I have no respect for the leadership of the Secret Service because the worst thing, the most decrepit, the most dishonorable thing to a person in law enforcement is somebody who's crooked and in law enforcement. And boy, they sure have them at the top of the FBI, the top of the Secret Service. So nobody should jump to any conclusions. At the same time, don't let me hear anybody say that because leads are being followed up that some conspiracy theory is going on. We better get an answer to this. These things don't normally happen. You don't normally leave a roof unattended 150 feet or 150 yards from the president. You don't leave it unattended when it gives you a great view of the crowd below you. You don't fail to put people up there because it's too dangerous for the Secret Service agents. The Secret Service agents do things a hell of a lot more dangerous than go on complicated routes that skinny little scrawny sissy looking murderers can negotiate. If that little creep bastard could negotiate it, they could. Well, let's go to something more uplifting than that, which is this wonderful minister who has a great gift for speaking and for sermons, and had the guts to invite Trump to the hood, as he says, in Detroit.
In Detroit who are Democrats, I want to ask you just one simple question. You can't deny the power of God on this man's life. You can't deny that God protected him. You cannot deny that it was a millimeter miracle that was able to save this man's life. Could it be that Jesus Christ preserved him for such a time as this? Could it be? Prayed for him when he came to the round table in Detroit, that Jesus asked and he received, that we sought him and then he found protection. Could it be that the King of glory, the Lord God strong and mighty, the God who is mighty in battle, protected Donald Trump because he wants to use him for such a time as this? If you believe that, come on, put your hands together. To all my
Don't you love that man? Man, you'd follow that guy, huh? Wow. He brings Jesus right to you. And that's what a minister has to do, right? Or a priest. He makes God real. And God was real that day. Very real. This is how God reveals himself in moments like that. And if you can see it, you can accept it, you can do miracles. You can do miracles to change evil, horrible situations like the corruption rotting our government from the top, remove it completely and turn it around on a dime. That's what Trump can do with the help of J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is a very, very interesting selection. He's a young man, but not that young. He's done more service for his country than most. A Marine, volunteered to be a Marine after September 11. That says a lot to me. Then has selected public service for what appears to be all the right reasons. He's really connected to where he came from, even though he's been very successful. He doesn't forget his humble beginnings, the struggle of his mother, who was, as he says, a drug addict who couldn't bring him up, and his is it Meemaw, the hillbilly expression for grandma? It was that
Meemaw.
Meemaw, yeah. I had worked in Eastern Kentucky, which is hillbilly country, but I had never heard that expression before, Meemaw. And he used it beautifully in explaining it. And she was the strong presence that brought him up. But his mother then overcame it. And you can see the pride that he has that his mom overcame it, and the willingness to expose his whole life. You know, once you expose your whole life, they can't do anything to you. They can't do anything to you. This was beautiful. And it gives you an idea of how human this ticket is, because I hope you got a chance to see the humanity of Trump with his family. I hope you did, because the man has been demeaned and defamed so much. He's entitled to have people see some of that. But let's look at his new running mate, and let's get a kind of feeling of him as a human being.
Moms like mine who struggled with money and addiction but never gave up. And I'm proud to say that tonight my mom is here, 10 years clean and sober. I love you, Mom.
This is the party of mother and father, you know. This is a party of the old-fashioned family that Black Lives Matter has as their first or second objective to destroy. They do not believe in families. Fathers out completely, but they don't have much use for mothers either. 2 years, then the state takes over. Now, they're the party that thinks the child is a property of the state. I mean, they can mutilate your child and not tell mom. Yeah, Biden's in favor of that. So is whoever replaces him. I think whoever replaces him will probably be worse. It'll be an intelligent version of a left-wing communist. Child as property of the state, please, is a Marxist theory. It's Marxism. It comes from Karl Marx, who is the creator of the ideology that's killed over 100 million people. And our university professors in large numbers embrace it because they are weaklings. They are self-important jackasses who pose as intellectuals. Going back to the early Greek philosophers, they warned us about people like that. The beginning of wisdom is humility, is knowing what you don't know. When I would lecture uniformly on leadership, I said that the second principle of leadership, the first is to have goals, is to know that you don't know, and to know your weaknesses. And if you look in the mirror and you don't see any weaknesses, ask your wife. And if your wife doesn't see any weaknesses, go to a psychiatrist, because the two of you are codependent idiots. Of course you have weaknesses. And then, when you assume your position of leadership, you will know how to balance them with people who can help you even more with your weaknesses than with your strengths. And finally, it may turn out that your weaknesses become your strengths because they teach you as you teach them. But if you are an Ivy League, I think I know it all, you never learn. You never learn, and you think you have the answer to everything, and you think you're smarter than everyone else. perfect prescription for a Marxist. If you read Marx, he was a Satanist. He loved the devil, and he loved the particular idea that the devil tempted Adam and Eve with the tree of knowledge. That apple was supposed to give them more knowledge than God. They could become more important than God. He tells the people, as an incentive to be communists and to become atheists, that they will know more than God, that they're really God. So he's got to get rid of God, and he's got to get rid of parents. And the Democrat Party has done a hell of a job of doing both for him. God, I mean, my goodness, you mention God, you go to jail. Right? Look at those people that merely protest against abortion who get arrested by FBI agents dressed up like stormtroopers. And look at the parents who objected to males wearing dresses going into female bathrooms and raping the girls. Look what happened to them. One of them got arrested. And they are uniformly in favor of, I don't know what you call it, people with male sexual organs wearing dresses and going around being like women and competing in sports, even though they're still men, so that women get trounced and have no ability to have competitiveness. I mean, that's like having a boxing match between a lightweight and a heavyweight. Why the hell do you think we have weight classes in boxing? I mean, a 120-pound man or 130-pound man can be the greatest lightweight in the history of boxing. And he can fight the worst heavyweight, and the worst heavyweight is going to kill him. We recognize the difference in the size of, we don't recognize the difference in the strength of a man and a woman? I don't mean strength of character. I mean physical strength. For many centuries, we have been genetically groomed as men to do certain things, and women have been genetically groomed to do other things. And I don't care, even if you're the most genius Marxist, atheist pig that there is, you're not going to change that. You're not. Marx really misled you when he told you were God. You're not God. You're actually probably a piece of shit. Most of you. And if you recognize that, you might have a chance to save yourself. That guy Vance has his head screwed on straight. Trump sure has his head screwed on straight. We need people that have their heads screwed on straight to lead us, because our country is in terrible, terrible trouble. Internationally, as I said, Donald Trump left him a world at peace. He's going to give him back a world at worse war than in about 3 generations. He left him a border with 400,000 people coming over. He's going to give him back a border with, we think, 3.5 million, not counting the ones that we didn't see last year. Let about 10 million people, and we don't know who the hell they are. You know what Donald Trump was telling you last night about they're sending over criminals? It's absolutely true. I know it because it's pure communism. This is exactly what Castro did in 1978 and 1979 to Carter, who was equally naive. But Carter was just naive. He wasn't demented and a traitor. Biden is demented and a traitor who's taken vast amounts of money from our enemies. My God, Carter would never have done that. Any president back in those days who took 2 million, 1 million, 30 million from the Soviets, I think he'd have been hung. Kennedy, Eisenhower, Reagan, Carter, pick 'em, Ford. Unthinkable. These bums in the White House took it from China. China, who gave us COVID. China, who makes billions off young people dying with fentanyl. And you're considering voting for them? No, 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 no. And don't you realize evil people like this exaggerate and lie about their opponent and brainwash you into thinking they're some kind of demon? They demonized him so much. I don't know. Sounds to me like it probably had something to do with that maniac, right? I'm not going to say it was a direct plot, but that Hitler? Hitler's probably the only person most people would agree should have been killed. I mean, a lot of people think the dictators should be killed at an early stage. Some people think they shouldn't. But Hitler, I don't think you can get much of a debate about. You say Hitler, you're giving a madman a kind of a justification and sort of clear direction to do something. Also, we're going to take a short break. All right. Mr. Ted says we take a short break. Therefore, we take a short break. To live is on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. You know, there is nothing at all honest about MSNBC or NBC, or it wasn't even honest that they were broadcasting from Milwaukee. They were actually in Manhattan when they were broadcasting. I mean, it could be that they don't allow Rachel Maddow in Milwaukee. I don't know. She might scare the children or something. But here's a quote from a former CNN big shot. If news organizations don't represent where they are clearly, then how is the audience to have faith and confidence in the actual content of the reporting? Media veteran and ex-CNN DC bureau chief Frank Sesno told the New York Times. Well, I mean, Frank, all I can tell you is nobody has faith and confidence in the actual content of the reporting of MSNBC, not even the lefties. They all know it's not true. Rachel Maddow hasn't done an accurate newscast since she's been Rachel Maddow. Before we break for the weekend, let's remember Corey Comparatore. Corey is the former firefighter that gave his life to save his family when this madman tried to kill Donald Trump, beautifully honored by President Trump. Something that really reminds us of what American presidents used to do before we had this monster in the White House, who can't even get the names of the people that he gets killed right. When Laken Riley was killed by one of his invitees, he never mentioned her name, was embarrassed by Marjorie Taylor Greene into doing it, and then proceeded to get a name wrong and call her Lincoln Riley. There, I think you see Corey and his wife. Um, he has two children, two daughters. I do believe both of them were with him. She was with him, his wife, and the two daughters. They were all major Trump supporters. She will not talk to Biden. Doesn't think he has a right to talk to her. Or maybe she thinks her husband would not like it if she talked to Biden, because her husband probably had a very clear view as a straight guy and an honest guy and a decent guy as to what an evil creep Biden is, even what a terrible grandfather is as a human being. Well, Corey gave his life to save his family. When he heard the bullets, he immediately put his body over his wife and two children. And Trump went over, you might remember last night, and kissed his helmet, his firefighter helmet. I thought that was the most beautiful moment of the entire convention, because I, out of control, hero worship firefighters. Nobody has more guts than firefighters. Nobody. You know what I often said about my firefighters in New York when they pull the racial crap? I don't have a firefighter in New York that ever says, am I going into a fire? I may not come out. And my guys in New York have encouraged it as beyond compare, and women, but mostly men. My guys in New York don't say, oh, is there a white person there? Or is it a black person? Or is it a Hispanic person or an Italian person or a Jewish person? Is it a gay or a lesbian, or is it a Republican or a Democrat? I don't know. They just go in, save you. Maybe everybody else should love like that, huh? That's what Trump was aiming for last night. I don't know. Okay, make fun of him. Do whatever you want to do with it. Say he did it because it was politics. But look, you can't get unity if you don't ask for it. You can't get it unless you're willing to take the slings and arrows of the cynics and the who say you can't do it. Every great thing ever invented or created in this world of a material or spiritual nature, people made fun of. People humiliated the people who dreamed it and thought of it. And we didn't have the people who dreamed it and thought of it and were willing to be humiliated. We would never have progress. When I said I was going to change New York, they told me I was crazy. Nobody else ever did. The books were written saying New York is ungovernable. I said, that's crap. New York is ungovernable. It's ungovernable because you're governed by Democrats. Yeah, 200 years of crooked Democrats. What the hell do you expect New York is going to be like? Look at Chicago. 60 years of Democrats, 4th of July weekend, 100 wounded, 19 killed, and the mayor blames it on a president who's been dead for 50 years. And they keep voting for the Democrats. What can I do? Keep trying. Just keep trying. So the best part of his speech and the best part of the convention, aside from kissing the helmet of the firefighter, were the wonderful and beautiful invocations to unity. Because I do believe that you keep doing it with the stubbornness of a Donald Trump, and it can work. And it doesn't work if you don't do it. Then you have no chance. And boy, we have to come together if we want to be the great nation we used to be. You know, I'm at an age in life where I don't know how much more time I have. I sure as hell don't want to pass this country on the way it is right now. I took an oath as the mayor of New York to pass my city on greater than was given to me. Took an oath that's 2,000 years old. It was the oath that was taken by the mayor of Athens. I added it to the oath. The other guys who came after me didn't take it. And the last two Democrats sure as hell haven't lived up to it. Before we take a look at a little video of the introduction of President Trump, which I think is a nice uplifting way to go into the weekend, let me remind you there's a rally tomorrow in Grand Rapids with the president and J.D. Vance. Biden will be in his basement tomorrow, and of course he is suffering. He is suffering from COVID. Gee, whatever happened to that vaccine that he told us we all had to take, otherwise he's going to chop our hands off, and it was going to cure it. Remember, he promised, he told us it would cure it. Then he told us that if we didn't take it, we were killers because we were giving COVID to everybody else. He didn't bother to tell us it seems like the vaccine gives you COVID. Nobody's taking a vaccine more often than him and Jill. I think at one point they're being vaccinated every other day. You can see it on her face. No wonder she's all wrinkled up. It's not nice? No, but it's true. I just say that because they put her on Vogue magazine 4 times. They airbrush her or do something so they don't scare the hell out of the children. And then you look at Melania Trump last night. The woman's gorgeous. She's never been on Vogue magazine. Of course, they should pay her $1 million to be on. I mean, she's a world-class model. And then we got the first stepmother, who looks like a rag. And she is a rag. I know you don't like that, but I like it. She refused to put a Christmas stocking out for Navy. It's a
great job. You answered every question. You knew all the And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lie! Yes. Joe, you...
Now, she knows this guy can't eat his ice cream by himself. She's got to shove it in his face. He couldn't put his jacket on. She didn't even want to put his jacket on. She didn't want to help him. She knows for sure that this man has no capacity to be president of the United States. And because she is so greedy for power, she is a traitor to the United States of America. And she's just as responsible for the people who died as the evil man that she supports. And she wants to be on Vogue magazine. God almighty. This family is a perversion. They are perverts. They do not belong at the head of any nation, much less the greatest on earth. And they've transformed us into, in many ways, a banana republic. Donald Trump would not prosecute Hillary Clinton. This guy is prosecuting anybody that was within 1,000 miles of Trump. And Trump, in a way that he can prevent him from being president. So don't forget it. And when they make the switch, which they're going to do, been predicting it for a year, when they make a switch to an equally, one of the semi-dictators or mini-dictators of the pandemic, like the Prince of Hollywood or Governor Whitlis, or the ones whose names I don't remember, like Shapiro, the King of the Steel.
Bashir, Kentucky, watch out for him.
Bashir, who you don't even know. Same party, same directorate, same Marxist agenda, and the same declining America, as opposed to a great leader who can stare death in the face and think primarily about the people he's leading. We need that now. Really bad. So let's take a look at, we're going to be back with you next week. We're going to see if we still have the same president. And there are rumors that he's going to pull the plug, or they're going to pull the plug on him over the weekend. But he seems to be yelling and screaming and kicking and having a temper tantrum about it. So let's see. Let's see who wins. It sounds like there's no Democrat any longer that supports him. Kamala is, working on her acceptance speech. Newsom is trying to figure out how to push her out of the way and not lose the black vote. Witless.
Who knows what she's doing?
Witless is trying to trying to figure out how she can step all over Kamala and not be destroyed. And Bashir is trying to figure out how to get you to know who he is.
Yeah, and Whitmer's working on faking her next kidnapping plot.
Oh, was she kidnapped again this weekend?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I called that up the second it happened. I remember when that happened. That was nuts.
Oh, she'd be a good successor to Biden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's doing the whole, making things up. It's crazy.
Well, let's now take a look at, let's first of all ask you all to pray for the people of Israel, to pray for the people of the United States. Pray for the family of Mr. Of Corey Campeotore, please. And also pray for the others who were injured and pray for the president. They're all recovering. Even though the president doesn't like to say it, he's recovering. And God bless America. So,
if tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again, just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. Sing it! God bless the USA! We are here tonight in one purpose, and that is to elect Donald J. Trump as the next president of the United States. He is here tonight to show his courage, his defiance against somebody who tried to kill him. You will not take this man down. He has the courage, the strength, and he will be the next president of the United States. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea. Ladies and gentlemen, the 45th President of the United States and soon to be the 47th President of the United States, please welcome Donald J. Trump. Today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Oh, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up
I don't think I did, no.
Bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to